I'm going to South Africa for hunting, and in this video we're going to talk about my 30-06 load.
Cabin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. I'm back with Guy Miner. Thank you for joining us, Guy.
Oh, I'm happy about this subject.
Yes, and this is really sort of a kickoff of sorts. You've got multiple stories planned for this South African hunt. Tell me about what led up to this. Why Africa?
Honestly, Gavin, it was a lifelong dream. And literally, I'm going all the way back. The doctor who delivered me was a big-time African hunting guy.
Wow, that does go back.
From the 50s on, and I used to go hang out at his house later on in life. And so from the time I was a little bitty dude, I kept thinking about Africa. Well, life gets in the way. And so here I am a lot of years later.
A lot of hunts later.
A lot of hunts later, and I still want to go to Africa.
It's time.
It is time. One of the things I really like about Africa is the abundance of wildlife, and that's due primarily to conservation through hunting.
Hunting actually funds a lot of those conservation efforts, if I understand things correctly.
It does. It does. A lot of people don't necessarily understand that, and they also don't understand that all the meat from the animals on this gets used right there in the local communities or taken to market elsewhere, but it stays in Africa.
And you get a little bit of that at camp, right?
Every night,
Oh,
every
man.
night, backstrap steaks and what have you.
That is absolutely awesome. So let's talk about what it's going to be like there. This is South Africa, so we're below the equator. That means the seasons are kind of opposite.
They are, and I've had that question from some other folks who've talked to me. They were saying, well, Guy, you're going to get hot. It's going to be, nasty. And they're thinking, Tarzan in the jungle and that sort of thing. No, the weather there that time of year, going to be this summer, is very much like our weather in October.
Oh,
lows in the
nice.
30s,
Yeah.
highs in the 60s, and dry.
Yeah, and actually, Peter Milan from Impact Shooting, I've seen a lot of your videos, and I know you do a lot of hunting down in South Africa where you live. It'd be great if you could drop a comment and supply some of your anecdotes. I'd love to come see you and potentially come hunt down there sometime. Anyways, back to South Africa. Let's talk about the type of hunting. So what kind of terrain are you going over, and what's the style of hunting?
Yeah, I'm looking primarily at plains game hunting, and that's kind of a euphemism for all those African antelope, the gemsbok, the kudu, the waterbuck, the wildebeest, all those things. Rather large, elk-sized animals.
Wow. Okay, so you need something with some good stopping power there.
Similar size to elk, yeah. And it's spot and stalk hunting, which I'm very used to. That's what I do here in Washington. That's what I did in Wyoming. That's what I've done in Alaska. A lot of glassing, a lot of moving, a lot of looking, and then stalking your quarry.
So the guides are going to know where to go, what to look for, and help with that process of acquiring the spotting part, I presume.
That's what they tell me.
Yeah, hopefully
I hope
right?
so. Yeah, they should be able. They're telling me they're going to be able to get me within 200 or 300 yards of everything.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
and what's your kill zone? What's the size?
these things, these are big animals with big hearts, big lung areas. We're talking about volleyball size kill
Big
zones.
vitals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe even bigger.
Nice.
Yeah, so
That makes it a little bit more achievable from just an offhand position, or maybe from some sticks or something like that, I presume.
right, and I was cautioned that American hunters can't do two things very well. One, they can't walk very far, very fast. So I've been working on that, doing a lot of hiking.
Yep.
And two, they can't shoot from standing very well. And whether it's standing without any sticks or standing with the sticks for that additional support. So I've been practicing both of those.
Good. We do all sorts of hunting here, everything from prone shooting with tiny varmint-sized animals all the way up to, elk.
Yeah. Shot my last elk from prone, but
Yeah.
that was trying to hide behind a sage bush. It worked.
That's great. Yep. Well, we talked about the kind of animals, the gemsbok, the kudu, and the wildebeest. Are you expecting to take hopefully one of each, or?
Yeah, unless we get into some sort of a culling operation where if the PH has got excess animals somewhere and he wants to cut down the numbers, then I might take a few more.
Nice.
He said to bring 80 rounds.
Oh, wow.
So
I'm hoping that you'll have the Tacticam or the Trigger Cam or something similar, so that we can see some of that action. And that is a look forward, is that Guy is planning to prepare a story summarizing that whole experience and the hunt and the results and I'm jealous.
Absolutely. Well, you should come with me.
Let's think about that for next year. That'd be pretty awesome.
Be good.
And you selected the 30-06. Let's talk about that choice.
Sure. A lot of reasons for that. The biggest one, I'm very familiar with the rifle. I've hunted with it a lot. I've target practiced with it a lot, and it's been very successful for me. Grizzly, elk, black bear, mule deer, antelope, everything I pointed at has gone down. So, and quickly.
Yeah.
And so I'm very familiar with the rifle. I can get on in a hurry. I can make those hits. It's got enough power for most animals in that size group. It was a little interesting on the grizzly, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah, we'll do a follow-up on that.
Yeah.
I do like this package because of the blend of knockdown power and reasonable weight for packing around and hiking with. That's a good balance.
I've had some days when I've had that thing on me. Well, last fall, my son and I hiked 11 miles in one day mule deer hunting. And I was glad I wasn't carrying a big, heavy tactical type rifle.
Yeah, definitely. So you've noted that this is a popular option, 30-06, the chambering for African hunting. What would be some of the other popular choices?
Believe it or not, they like the 308 Win.
Okay.
They like the various 7MMs, the 280 and the 7mm Remington Magnum. I understand the old 7x57 is still popular.
Interesting.
I don't know. Things in that kind of mid-power group, not the real light cartridges. My PH told me to leave my 25-06 at home. He says it's actually popular there among a lot of their hunters that are going out targeting some of these animals. But he says, we're going to be hunting some big stuff, so bring your 30-06.
Yep.
And kind of interesting, I talked to him about the magnums, and he says that's one of the biggest mistakes that hunters make on their first plains game hunt, is they go buy some hard-kicking magnum that's difficult to deal with and that they don't shoot very well, and it messes them up.
Yeah.
They make bad hits. By the way, you make a bad hit on an animal, they track it, they lose it, you still bought it.
Yeah, right.
That's still on your account,
Yep.
even if they can't find it.
Wow.
So yeah, it pays to make the good hits. And although you can set up for some long-range hunting over there, which has become so popular here in the U.S. in recent years, and people have gone to Africa and done the long-range hunting, that's not the norm there. And from what I've been told, a lot of the areas we're going to be hunting, a 200-yard shot is longish.
Interesting.
So 300 at the outside.
Yeah. Well, I think that the 30-06 choice should be real good. Let's talk about some of the specifics on this rifle. This has been on the channel a few times.
It has.
There's something new.
There is. It's not the prettiest thing on the rifle. Yeah, it's your basic Remington 700 CDL wood stock. It was pillar bedded, does have a Timney trigger, all that good stuff. We don't need to rehash all that. It's in prior episodes. But my PH actually said to me, Guy, is your rifle threaded for a suppressor? I've got a suppressor for you to use when you get here to Africa. And I said, not yet, but I know a guy. And so Gavin threaded my barrel. And we've got one of his suppressors on it right now for this show.
And what was interesting about that process was Guy came to me with the rifle and he said, well, what can you do with this? And 5/8 24 would be standard muzzle threading. And I think we were at, so that's 0.625. I think we're at 0.655 inches at the muzzle. And you didn't want to cut down.
No.
And so we came up with a unique solution. We've got a separate video and article on that. So you're going to want to check out that, but it turned out well. Thing shoots great, suppressed.
It did.
That's a whole new world. Now you need your own suppressor too. They're going to have one for you, I understand, in Africa.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
So
stateside, we're going to need to get you set up.
I think I can do that.
And you've got the 6-power loop hold.
Yeah, and I know a lot of guys do not hunt with fixed power scopes anymore. I like them for their simplicity.
Yeah.
Every time I pop it up there, it's 6 power.
Yeah.
And I've shot game pretty darn close, a little too close once. And then way out there at 350 yards as well. Just 6 power, no twirling the knobs, none of that stuff. Just bring it up, hold, press, done.
Yeah. There's something to be said for simplicity and reliability. That is a huge strength in a whole rifle system. Okay, so for this one, you're trying totally new kind of bullet then.
I am, and that messed with my head a little bit because I've been hunting with the same 165 grain lead core bullet for a long time, and I'm real happy with it. But two things came together. One, my PH said, Guy, it'd be great if you could shoot a monolithic bullet over here. I really like the way they perform. And he mentioned the Barnes TTSX, and he mentioned the Nosler E-tip. And then I said, well, you know, Hornady just came out with a new CX replacing their old GMX. And we had tested that not long ago.
Yeah, the 7mm 150, that was a ripper.
That was, and it blew the heck out of those doggone ballistics gel blocks. That was amazing. Yeah, we
deep penetrating, great expansion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for these denser animals, that feels like a pretty good strategy, is to go with that deeper penetrating.
And the PH mentioned that, that you got to get through the hide, which on some of these is thick. You got to get through the muscle. You got to get through the bone. And then he loves it if the bullet exits and goes out the other side. And you know what the Hornady guys are saying about these CXs? You will get exits.
Right.
So I said, well, let's give it a try. And worked up a load I'm very, very happy with.
Let's talk about the numbers here. This is some great info that Guy put together. So this is a 165, which is right in the middle of the weight range. It's got that 308 diameter, of course, since it is 30 cal. We were looking at that the G1BC for a 30-06 hunting bullet, somewhere between the .4 range and the .480 range. We're at .44, right smack dab in the middle.
You know, after we made this up, I remembered that some of the 200s and plus do have a higher BC than that.
Gotcha.
I rarely hunt with those, but they're out there.
If we're inside of 300 yards, that BC maybe is a little less important, right?
Much less important.
We're going to preserve a lot of that velocity when we're at the animal, when it's that close. Hornady recommends 1 in 10 twist, which is great because that's what a lot of the 30-06 rifles are shipped with, like this one, correct?
Right. And it's interesting because this 165 is actually physically longer than a lot of other 165s because it has no lead core. It's just copper zinc alloy. So it's longer, but it's no longer than a typical 180.
Oh, interesting.
Which these will also stabilize just fine.
Yep. And then Hornady specifies 2,000 feet per second minimum for optimal expansion. And that typical range for a 30 caliber bullet, any hunting bullet really, is somewhere in the 1,600 on the low side for like a ELDX, for instance.
Right.
We're talking Hornady. On up to, in the copper class, monolithic bullets, 2,000 is pretty typical. Yeah. And we're going to be doing more solid copper stuff, so we'll have more info on that. But walk through your load with us. You did a bit of load development, multiple powders.
I did. I went through some powder, went through some primers, went through some bullets, and wound up with a pretty darn good load that I'm very happy with. I fell back onto the powder that I usually use in the 30-06 H4350. By the way, I saw a note that Hodgdon has that available.
That is good news. Yeah,
it is good news. It's been
Some
hard
of
to
these
come by.
components are starting to rehydrate.
Yes.
Where they've been dehydrated for years. Yeah.
So
great.
One of the things about this solid copper bullet is that it doesn't squeeze down into the bore as easily as a lead core bullet does, and you get some more resistance. And they've got the pressure relief bands cut in there, but I could not safely get up to the loads that I shoot my lead core bullets at. I couldn't get there, not safely. So what I did is I took a look in Hodgdon's manual, and they have data for the GMX, which this replaces, so 165 grain GMX, and I used that data and worked up to their maximum, and I was getting 2,863 feet per second with that.
Nice.
Felt real good about that, and felt even better about the SD of 5 feet per second.
Yeah, that's like PRS shooting quality right there.
Yeah. It'd be fun to build a match 30-06 and see how that would shoot.
Yeah, certainly.
It shot fine with this rifle, the same as most of my other hunting loads, anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches, depending on the nut squeezing the trigger. So
you could look at some classic data, because I believe 30-06 was popular in long-range competition in what, 1950s?
Oh yeah.
Somewhere in there?
Yeah. And there's some people still using it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too.
Yep. Probably one of the best all-rounders out there. Well, that is a great load that you've worked on. Are you happy with it?
I'm very happy with it. Got good velocity, great accuracy potential there. I'm practicing with it some more, and that's what I'm going to be doing from here on out, off the bench and practicing with this from standing and off the hunting sticks, shooting sticks.
Well, this is really exciting. It's end of May. You're going to be gone in July. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so the time is approaching fast. If you will, with me, please wish Guy a great hunt in Africa. Drop a comment and tell him what you think about that, about the hunt and the experience, that sort of thing. We definitely want to hear from you, Pete Milan. This is your native territory. I'm so jealous of you being able to go. This is going to be really, really great.
Yeah, I hope so. I've been looking forward to this for about 60 years.
Yeah, no,
So.
That's absolutely awesome. What we want to know from you is, if you've done African plains game hunting, is what did you use? What did you use for ammunition, cartridge, rifle setup? Did you use a suppressor? And how did it go? What kind of game were you able to take? And what was the experience like? We would love to hear from you. Drop a comment and we'll start a discussion. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Also, make your voice heard. If you have something to say, please drop a comment. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications, because you're not going to want to miss the awesome content that is coming up. And finally, flex your reloading pride. You could look great in one of these t-shirts. We've got multiple designs at the Ultimate Reloader store. I'll see you later, because I'm off to go shooting.